I now give the floor to His Excellency Ismael Ould Cheikh Ahmed, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Cooperation of Mauritania.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, Madam President, Your Majesties, Excellencies and Highnesses, Your Excellency the Secretary General of the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, I would first like to congratulate the President of the General Assembly, Ms. Maria Fernandez Espinosa Garcia, on her assumption of the presidency of the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly. I wish her success in the performance of her duties. I would also like to express our sincere appreciation to Mr. Miroslav Lacek for the great efficiency and professionalism with which he ran the previous session of the General Assembly. Here, I will be remiss if I did not commend the great efforts that the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, is making in reforming our organization and leading it in service of international peace and security. I would also like to offer my deepest condolences on the passing of former United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Kofi Annan, who was known for his honesty and his humane nature and his noble spirit. I had the honor of working with him closely on several files, especially with regards to the Syrian file. And, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, as we meet today under this dome, our peoples seek to gain their equitable and legitimate rights in peace and development and a dignified life. They seek to build a close-knit and integrated international order that is able to confront the challenges threatening the existence and survival of human life on this planet, challenges such as hunger and disease and epidemics and terrorism and wars and poverty and the scarcity of resources and the absence of growth incentives and natural disasters. Mauritania believes that the noble values that are the foundations of this organization are still able to build a world that is prosperous and where peoples live in peace, tolerance, and prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, through hosting the 31st African Union Summit in Nouakchott on the 2nd and the 3rd of July 2018, and under the slogan, Winning the War on Corruption, a sustained course on the path for the transformation of Africa, Mauritania, through that, sought to contribute towards drawing up a comprehensive view to overcome the challenges posed by corruption and in a way to free our African peoples from this heinous practice. Mauritania has accomplished much in its combating of corruption, in that it adopted a series and group of procedures and measures that would limit this phenomenon. It has activated the role of oversight agencies. It has adopted transparency in all financial transactions. It has modernized its tax collection system, and it has updated it and has also updated the methods and systems of payment, and has enacted a fiscal reform program which saw a change in the base of the national currency. Under the leadership of the President Mohammed bin Abdulaziz, our country adopted an integrated and overall economic policy that would guarantee welfare and prosperity to our citizens. We have built roads and airports and seaports, and our government has made available basic services, including drinking water and electrical power. We have enacted reforms that aim at achieving accelerated growth throughout all economic, mining, and oil sectors. Moreover, we have adopted a law that encourages investments, and we have also established an economic free zone in the city of Nouadhibou. And we anticipate that the economic growth of the country would exceed 4% this year. And in order to mitigate the negative impact of climate change on economic growth and general life, Mauritania has adopted a national policy that aims to utilize renewable sources of energy and has sought to combat sand invasion and has focused as well on environmental efforts and nature reserves. Mauritania has ratified all international agreements related to climate change, and Nouakchott hosts, as you know, the headquarters of the Pan-African Agency of the Great Green Wall. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, the Islamic Republic of Mauritania realizes that achieving justice and equity between all members of society, and it believes that the equitable distribution of wealth is one of the main foundations of a modern state. Therefore, Mauritania has enacted fundamental reforms in its legal order in order to entrench the concept of the independence of the judiciary and to make it closer to litigants. We uphold the freedom of the press in that it is a strategic option. Mauritania believes that the press is the best avenue to enhance democracy and the practice of democracy. And over the past period, we have established a public fund to support private press and to streamline electronic press. We have launched we are working on launching a broadcasting service for radio and television broadcast. We have abolished the prison sentence for issues pertaining to press cases, and we have made public media outlets accessible to all political actors. And all of these achievements came as a result of political will that is honest and genuine and that aims to spread a spirit of freedom and democracy so that we could maintain our leading ranking in the freedom of the press internationally. According to Journalists Without Borders, Mauritania ranks first in consecutive years on the Arab level in terms of the freedom of press and the freedom of expression. And this has been confirmed by the most recent report issued by the UNDP. Mauritania has worked on encouraging international accord and has adopted a policy of perpetual openness. And here, many preparatory meetings and consultations were held with the different factions of the opposition in order to reach an accord. And these were crowned by an open dialogue, political dialogue between the majority and the opposition in 2011. This was followed by another comprehensive dialogue between the parties of the majority and some of the parties of the opposition, as well as large parts of the civil society and independent candidates. This was done between the 29th of September and the 20th of October 2016. And this led to outcomes that in turn resulted in constitutional amendments that were adopted by referendum on the 5th of August 2017. All of this led to enhancing democracy and the state of laws, as well as the allocation of public funds. The elections that were held on the 1st and 15th of September were an opportunity for the Mauritanian people to select their representatives in legislative and municipal institutions, as well as in local councils, and in establishing the concept and approach of non-centrality, the state also witnessed for the first time in its history the election of local councils that are tasked with development and with developing the different aspects of local governance. And these elections were held under the supervision of an independent elections commission in an atmosphere of peace and security and which were transparent and honest, as has been testified by politicians of all different affiliations and international observers from the African Union and representatives of the civil society. All the different colors of the political rainbow participated in these elections, and women occupied an important position in terms of candidature as well as the seats that they have been gained, especially since the position of chairperson of the local council of the district of Nouakchott is female. And these results show the progress that women have made in elections, and this is because the national political circles allow for the participation of women at all levels of decision-making so that they can occupy political, military, and judicial positions, as well as a quota that has been allocated to women in all elected seats and positions. Moreover, the national leadership allocates special importance to youth and has established a multidimensional strategy that is based on comprehensive approaches that deal with all aspects of interest to youth in the fields of politics, intellectual progress, education, vocational training, and we have also established a higher council for youth for national employment and development. Ladies and gentlemen, human rights has a very important position in our national politics and is embodied in our continued efforts to achieve and to entrench human rights and improve the situation and condition of prisons, and to protect prisoners from torture and to combat any harmful practices against women and children. Moreover, this policy continues to eliminate, finally, any remnants of slavery. And here, national legislation has classified slavery as a crime against humanity within the constitutional reforms of 2012. The legal order was also bolstered by a group of laws and ordinances that adopt new approaches in establishing ad hoc courts that specialize in the remnants of slavery throughout the country. We have also issued a roadmap that includes 29 recommendations on combating slavery and its remnants in March 2014. And this was praised by the Special Rapporteur of the United Nations. The government also formed a social welfare agency that works on combating poverty and the remnants of slavery. And its tasks include helping the most vulnerable groups by offering healthcare and educational services and by funding income-generating projects. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, our country, which has long supported the struggle of the South African people against the policies of the apartheid regime, welcomes the United Nations Peace Summit this year to honor the great role of the late Nelson Mandela. And here we would like to note that our country has honored the late leader and advocate Madiba by naming a main thoroughfare in the capital after him. Moreover, the African Summit that recently met in Nouakchott dedicated special events to honor his centennial anniversary in order to recall the values that he fought for. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, Mauritania's geographic position is a special one. It belongs to the Arab and African spheres, which places upon us a prominent responsibility towards the security, economic, and human orders in the sub-region. And Mauritania realizes this responsibility and thus played a pivotal role in the establishment of the G5 Sahel Group, and it has practically engaged in the formation of the Joint Force for the Sahel, which is currently fighting the terrorist organizations in the region. Mauritania, based on this, seeks to establish harmony and amity in the sub-region by adopting a firm policy of good neighborliness and disengagement from any conflict. Our country is closely following the issue of the Western Sahara, and we support the efforts of the United Nations to arrive at a settlement that is acceptable to the relevant parties and which contributes to entrenching and enhancing economic integration between the countries of the Arab Maghreb. The question of Palestine occupies one of the main interests of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, and our country has a firm position on the matter. In every occasion, we call for an equitable solution that is a viable one and that is based on relevant Arab and international terms of reference, and which would lead to the establishment of a state of Palestine with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital. As for the Libyan question, we support the track of the United Nations and other tracks that come to complete it, including the efforts of the High-Level African Panel on Libya and the Quartet and the committee that is formed by Libya's neighboring states. As for the situation in Syria, we would like to confirm the need to seriously strive to arrive at a political solution through a comprehensive national dialogue that would maintain the unity of Syria as well as its independence and the dignity of its people and their right to live in peace and security. As for sisterly Yemen, we support the legitimacy with the leadership of His Excellency President Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi, and we call for putting an end to division and to adopt a peaceful solution based on the three terms of reference, and we support the United Nations efforts that aim to arrive at a political solution to this crisis. We confirm our support to the government of Somalia in regaining peace and stability in its territories, and we once again condemn all terrorist action that targets vital centers in Somalia. With regards to the Rohingya Muslims, we once again condemn in the strongest of terms the killing and displacement of this minority group, and we call upon the international community to shoulder its responsibilities in putting an end to the suffering of the suppressed people. In closing, Madam President, I would like to reaffirm Mauritania's implementation of all of its international commitments, and we would like to confirm that we honor the international order and multilateralism and the principles of the United Nations that aim to arrive at a world where there is peace and stability and whose peoples live in prosperity and peace. Mauritania stands ready to work with its partners in order to achieve the SDGs. I thank you.
I thank the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Cooperation of Mauritania for his statement.